Dennis Prager here. It is very rare, even though I often have favorites, my concern with regard to elections is that Republicans win. And it's always with some difficulty that I tell people who request to come on the show that I don't do congressional or even senatorial races as a rule because there are just too many of them, and the show is a national show. I make some exceptions. The following is an exception. I am having a man who is running for the 9th Congressional District in Arizona because I know him well. He is a fellow talk show host at Salem Radio, and the number one part is the most important. I know him well, and I know his values, and I know how good it would be if he were in Congress, and he is Seth Leibsohn. So, Seth, you have made a very dramatic decision, and I know how dramatic it is because I flirted with running for office as well. It's a different life than being a talk show host. Why did you make the decision?
Oh, Dennis, good morning, and thank you. Yeah, it was a tough decision. I got to tell you, you got to say goodbye to a career in communications and radio, but open up a door and a window to another career where you can, put some of what you say into practice and perhaps represent an even bigger segment of the population and the culture. You make me sad a little bit to hear that to hear the potential of having you in the U.S. Senate. That would just be a dream come true. But Dennis, everything you talk about is so important to our politics and to our culture. And I think it needs more representation with the levers of power in Washington, D.C., and that's why I made that decision after a bunch of community members says we can flip this seat, and we're going to flip it.
So who's in that seat now?
Right now it is a seat held by a Democrat named Kirsten Sinema. She's vacating it to run for U.S. Senate, so it becomes an open seat that I and many in Phoenix, and certainly the National Republican Congressional Committee, thinks is very winnable for us, for we Republicans. So we're aiming to take this back with a common sense message.
And when are the primaries?
Primary will be at the end of August, and then we will prevail there and then go on into November and take the seat back.
I get it. So your deal, because of American law, if I'm not mistaken, is you can't run and broadcast at the same time, correct?
That's right. I have, and you have, the only profession in the world that doesn't allow you to keep your profession while you try and run for public office.
Yeah,
that's right. So I'll be signing off the radio show in a little bit here to comply with the law.
What do you think of that law?
Well, I think it's fundamentally unconstitutional and anti-free speech, right? An accountant can practice his profession. Anyone else can practice their profession. But it is what it is, and we'll obviously comply with it because we're off to what I think is a very, very important mission and charge here. We've got just so much support. You were in Phoenix a couple weeks ago. It was a delight to see you. Gosh, you had about 250 people in a backyard in the heat of the Arizona sun. Proved a good point, though, too, about education, Dennis. Proves that class size doesn't matter with a good enough and smart enough teacher such as yourself.
That's very sweet of you to say. Well, I'm proud to say, a long-standing, large audience in Phoenix and a lot of support there.
Here.
Well,
you're a rock star here. Hey, can I make a quick point, Dennis,
Yeah.
about something you just said before break that I can't get out of my head?
Okay.
About Israel and the left and Democrats. Your friend and mine, Seth Gorka, made this point the other day on Twitter. He said it's really interesting that not a single member of the Democratic Party from the House or Senate went to the U.S. Embassy opening in Jerusalem, which means that more Democrats from the House have met with Louis Farrakhan and would go to recognize that momentous occasion in Israel, recognizing its time-tested.
Well, you know what,
Seth,
the ultimate here is they then charge the opening as being all Republican.
Yeah,
the Democrats boycott it, and then they attack the conservatives and the Republicans for not having Democrats. We'll be back. Seth Leibsohn fellow radio talk show host and author, and his website is up at DennisPrager.com. Seth for Congress, number 4. He's a good man, a solid man. We need him. I'm speaking with Seth Leibsohn, who is a fellow radio talk show host at my Salem station in Phoenix. He's a best-selling author and columnist running for the 9th Congressional District of Arizona, currently held by a Democrat. So he, of course, has to prevail in the primary and then prevail in the general election. How many of you are in the primary?
There's 2 other candidates for the most part, Dennis, and so it's basically a 3-way primary right now. But I'm not too terribly worried about it. We're working hard every day. We're doing about 2 events a day, and the response has just been tremendous.
Why? Why has the response been tremendous?
Well, you know, the power of having been, as you mentioned, author, radio host, been in the public eye and speaking out on all these issues that are near and dear to us and our constituents and listeners' hearts. We go to these legislative district meetings, and it's just wonderful response. I get people coming up from outside these legislative districts coming up just to say they wanted to meet me and say hello because they were familiar with my work. So it's just been tremendously heartening that the message that you and I and our friends have been promulgating and disseminating for years is finding resonance with voters. It's not just
now we're warned constantly that there's going to be this blue tide, this blue avalanche in November. Do you subscribe to that thesis?
Not even close. I don't buy a part of it. I mean, what are they going to run on? I think the Democratic Party has a real problem. Most people get together around a set of issues and form a party. I think this is a party looking for a set of issues. I mean, what are they going to run on? Clawing back the $2,000 the median Arizona family has made with the tax reform bill? That's what Nancy Pelosi said. Good luck with that. They seem to throw this pie at the wall every few months thinking they have an issue, not asking who's a citizen on the census. I mean, my gosh, people can't take this party seriously anymore. They don't have an issue to run on, and you need an issue for a wave election. They don't got one.
Well, they say they have one, and the one that they have is hatred of Donald Trump.
Yeah, but I think that you have to, or people generally would have to look far and wide for history to find hatred of the president as the source or the mainstay of a wave election. I just don't think that generally is it. And I think people are coming around to Trump in a very big way. Notice how people are writing their columns now. As much as I dislike Trump, they're coming around to his policies. They're seeing the reality of his policies in foreign relations to their paychecks. So I think that's dissipating at one point on one hand, and on the other hand, it's just not a very good historical election strategy. And keep in mind, you know, he's at about 10 points higher now in his approval rating than he was when he won the election. So I'm just not seeing it.
I happen to agree with you, and I was a pessimist for the last election. So I am not an optimist based on what I want to happen. But I think that's correct. Why is your district now in Democrat hands?
Well, it's in Democrat hands for a few reasons. First of all, it's a slight plurality of independents here in the district. And the Democrat who ran and who now has that seat has done a pretty good job of casting herself as a moderate and has done a pretty good job of getting Republican votes. We can argue about why Republicans did that or whether she's a moderate or not. I don't think she truly is. But that's not something that the Democrat who will be running against me will have on his side. He's running as a progressive. He will have zero Republican support. And we have you know, when you build your radio show, Dennis, you, Alan, and your team know this, you can't build a big radio show just on the base. You have to be able to attract independents and disaffected Democrats. And that's a message that's resonating here. We're in it to win it, and we're going to do it.
Where should people go?
You are very kind to ask. SethForCongress.com. I won't plague people with how to spell my last name perfectly, so we made the website easy, SethForCongress.com. We're delighted to take any help we can.
Well, you are a good man. That's why I made this exception. I know you, I trust you, and I want to help you.
Dennis, you're the best. You're the best teacher this country has, and we need you so much right now. So Godspeed to you, and may you go from strength to strength. Congratulations with everything you're doing. I learn from you every day. I know hundreds of people who do here, thousands across. And what are you, about to hit 1 billion viewers on YouTube? Unbelievable. Your class size doesn't matter, Dennis.
Well, that's really kind of you. But obviously, I support you. I think the world of you. And again, it's at DennisPrager.com, or just go straight to SethForCongress.com. I, Dennis Prager, am not pessimistic about this November. Yes. Okay, good man. You're right. You're pessimistic if they don't turn out. Yeah, well, if Republicans don't turn out, then I return to my original unfortunate description of the two parties. When I became a Republican in the Reagan era, I said I am leaving the destructive party for the stupid party. And I have stopped saying that because I don't think it's been the stupid party. But it will be. It will be the self-destructive party if it doesn't show. If Republicans don't vote, frankly, it would. As little as I expect from my fellow human being, that would disappoint me. There is so much at stake. And they have thrown everything they can. There's nothing left. Seth Leibsohn is a new seat? No, it's a new Republican seat if he wins. That's exactly right. But they've thrown everything they have. Nazi, white supremacist, fascist. That's all. It saturates the media. If this doesn't work, that's a very big blow to the left-wing media. I'm Dennis Prager. We continue.